What's up guys, Billy here, and today we'll be going over all of the different gestures that you can use to control your DJI Spark. This is a brand new feature that takes advantage of the 3D sensor in front, and I've got to say, it's a lot of fun. Let's stop wasting time and get into the video. To begin, I want to go over a few tips I've come up with. First of all, you want to make sure that there is ample light. You'll notice that as you try to do this when it is starting to turn dark or even completely dark, it will hardly work. This is because the sensor needs to determine depth and will not work properly in low light situations. The next tip is all about space. You want to make sure that you are in an open area with enough room to control the drone. There's no obstacle avoidance sensors on the sides of the Spark, so if you are in a cramped area, then you're at a higher risk of a crash. Finally, make sure you have a full battery. These gesture controls can be done without a smartphone or remote controller connected, meaning you may not be able to monitor the drone's battery at all times. If you end up running low, the Spark will land itself, but that's not a risk I like to take. To enable these gesture controls, simply tap on the three dots in the top right corner to access the general settings. Then click on the visual navigation settings and look towards the bottom to find Enable Advanced Gesture Control. Clicking on the information button will go over some of what I talk about today in writing, but the wording is a little bit confusing and I'm someone who likes to learn visually, so hopefully this will help some of you out. On a side note, if you plan on using the gestures, you'll need to pay attention to the noises of the Spark as well as the circular LEDs on the front. These are not put there just to spot the drone, but also to read its status at a glance. You'll see what I mean as I walk through the different gestures. Now getting into the actual gestures. First is palm launch, which allows the drone to take off right from your hand. For this to work properly, you need to make sure that the front of the Spark is facing towards you. Once you have turned on the Spark, double tap the power button to begin face aware, which will detect your face. This is done with the Spark's camera, and you'll see it move up and down looking for your face. Now this had me a little bit confused. You'll basically need to hit the power button a total of 4 times. 2 times to turn it on, and then another 2 times for it to find your face. I would recommend waiting about 5 seconds before activating face aware to let the Spark warm up. After double tapping the power button, the front LEDs will turn green. A beep will sound, and then the LEDs will turn red. Once the LEDs are red, the motor slowly begins spinning and the Spark will fly up from your hand. If you're gripping the Spark, be sure your fingers are below the white shell to avoid any injury. Next up is palm control, which allows you to control where the drone goes by simply moving your hand. This is probably the easiest gesture control you'll come across and will make you feel like a Jedi. You can really walk around in any direction that you want and the Spark will follow you. An area that I found the most hiccups when controlling the drone's movement with my palm was forwards movement towards the drone, so the Spark would be flying backwards away from you. It moves really slowly and is unable to track your hand as well as it usually does, but on the other hand, spinning in a circle and moving laterally works almost perfectly. Again, the LEDs will help us determine the status of the drone. If the LEDs are red, then the drone will not follow you. You can walk around and it'll stay stationary. If they're yellow, it means that it's trying to find your palm after you lift it. And finally, green means that it's tracking as usual. Once you have mastered controlling the Spark with your palm, you can send it away from you by waving your hand in front of the drone for 2 seconds. Not only is the drone sent away from you, but it locks onto your position as well and follows you like active track. If the Spark's active track flight mode does not lock onto you automatically, you can lift your hands straight up in the air for it to find you. The LEDs again will help you determine the status of the Spark. If they are yellow, that means the Spark is trying to find you, and if they are green, then you're good to go and walk around as it follows you from behind. I must say that this is easily the hardest gesture to actually do. I found myself waving my hand in front of the Spark like an idiot for a couple of minutes. I've kind of nailed the technique. What you need to do is make sure you have a lot of elbow movement. So basically wave your whole entire arm for 2 seconds exactly and the drone will fly away from you. It takes a little bit of practice, but I ended up getting better at it over time. After sending the drone up in the air away from you, you can take a selfie by forming a box with your fingers. The LEDs will flash indicating that the drone recognizes your command and will take a picture after a 3-second count. This should all seem very familiar as it was introduced with the Mavic Pro. Next up is a gesture control called Beckon. If you want the drone to come back to you after sending it away, all you need to do is simply put your hands up in the air and it will return. First it begins its descent and then moves forwards towards you. From here you can continue to use your palm control if you wish. After you're finished with your flight, you can have the Spark simply land in your hand with palm land. All that's required is a simple flat palm just underneath of the drone. The motors will start to shut off as it descends just into your hand. One thing I should warn you about is it likes to aim for your fingers, so be sure you don't drop it. Anyway, that basically wraps up all of the possible gestures for the Spark so far, and the reason that I say so far is because it is quite possible that DJI will add more in the future, just like with their intelligent flight modes. I'll be sure to keep you guys updated if this does happen. But guys, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new around here. Also, be sure to leave me a comment down below if you have any questions about this Spark, and if I see a good one, maybe I'll turn it into a video. But guys, as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.